just told us to leave the street, so we went down the street a little bit. But I wasn't inside the tube station when they asked people to leave.
And of course, this being a Saturday night in London, one presumes there are quite a lot of people on the streets at this time.
Yes, there is. There were like a lot of people coming out of the station. Most of them are gone now. The street looks pretty empty for a Saturday night, but there's still people walking by. So you can't go up the street. You can't access the area.
And how have people been reacting? You will have seen many faces moving past you this evening as events on London Bridge have unfolded. Have people been responding with panic, with fear, with uncertainty?
Well, the people coming out of the station, they moved like pretty quietly, calmly. There was no panic, but I saw people running from near the scene of the incident. They were just running down the street, so I saw a few people running, but mainly it was quiet. But the police officers were kind of shouting at us to leave, so people I think they didn't want to panic or anything, and they just left.
Well, these are live pictures from as close as we can get to London Bridge. London Bridge just in the direction that those police officers are heading, carrying what would appear to be shields and wearing helmets. We should repeat, we spoke a little earlier to Tony Murphy, who lives close to London Bridge. For now, he is the only witness that we have spoken to who suggested that there was a gunfire. Certainly, we spoke just a moment ago to Will Heaven, who was travelling across the bridge in a taxi in what he thought was the immediate aftermath of the incident. He didn't hear any gunfire. However, what he did see were people moving away at speed past his taxi, having already seen a number of people injured to the sides of the road. Well, a little earlier we spoke to another witness, Nick Archer.
We just finished drinking at a bar, and we came out onto the road and looked to my left, and there was a guy. To be honest, I thought he was just drunk. He had so much to drink. He was lying on the floor, and then a couple of seconds later, about 3 police vans flew past, and the guys who were with the guy that was on the floor managed to flag one of these police vans down, and the armed response officers jumped out and sort of started attending to the guy on the floor, and then one of the other group who was with this guy on the floor, I think, started leading the officers up the road towards London Bridge. We did walk past the guy who was on the floor. I didn't sort of manage to see what he was like, but he looked in a bad way. I can't tell if he was hit by something or if he was shot or anything like that. But yeah, that's what we thought. And people were coming from the London Bridge direction, telling us people had been either shot or stabbed, telling us to get back. So we just sort of retreated back to the London Bridge where we are now. There's no trains running. Sorry, we're at Waterloo East. There's no trains running through London Bridge, so we're stuck at Waterloo East now.
So Nick, just to try and work out the geography, how far from London Bridge were you? How far was this individual that you saw lying on the floor?
It's difficult to say. We must have been about, I'd say about a 10-minute walk maybe from London Bridge, and we were walking in that direction from this bar, but we obviously were then pushed back by members of the public, not by police, telling us that something had happened, so we turned around and walked the other way. But they told us 6 people had been either shot or stabbed. But that's obviously just by members of the public telling us that.
And just in terms of the number of the emergency service personnel that you've seen, there have been a number of reports of armed police on the scene. Have you seen any of those? There were, when I'd say about 15 seconds after I saw this guy on the floor, they managed to flag down one of the armed police vans coming past. About 5 maybe armed police jumped out of the van and started attending to the guy on the floor. Then I'd say about maybe 3 of them started running up off the street towards London Bridge, away from us. Couldn't see where they were going or anything like that, but they were definitely heading up to sort of the London Bridge area. And Nick, there have been some reports of a white van as being the vehicle responsible. Did you see anything matching that description?
I did not see any kind of white van or anything like that. All we literally saw is a guy, one single guy. He was maybe 20 to 30 years old, lying on the floor, maybe unconscious. That's also, I did not see any sign of a white van.
Clearly, a major incident taking place in London this evening. Armed police at London Bridge in numbers. The bridge itself has been closed. We believe that at least one hotel has been evacuated in the area. We saw a number of people moving towards our camera a few minutes ago in their pyjamas, had clearly been asked to leave as quickly as is possible. We have no information as to the number of casualties that have taken place, but there are a number of injuries. We've had from a variety of witnesses reports of people on the ground, on the bridge and indeed in the road to the bridge. However, as is always the case, there are differences in the witness statements that we have had. So far, only one witness has been talking about the sound of gunfire. His name was Tony Murphy. He has a flat near to Southwark Bridge, which is just close to London Bridge. Here's what he told us.
I'm actually military, and about half an hour ago, preceding all the problem, I have a flat which is adjacent to Southwark Bridge, so London Bridge is across the way, and in fact there was tremendous gunfire which started. I thought at first it was fireworks, but then I recognised it was significant gunfire, and that was the first instance. And only afterwards, very rapidly, because I'm on Upper Thames Street here, then the emergency started about 10 minutes after. But the whole incident started with gunfire, and it was significant gunfire. It went on for quite a few minutes. Which other people would have thought it was fireworks, but of course I recognised it immediately. So, I mean, that was the precipitating cause. And after that, the whole shooting match of ambulances and police and what you're seeing on the television screen at the moment. But I was worried about it, and in fact I texted my family to say there was gunfire even before this started.
Tony, so when you heard this gunfire, was it, in your opinion, as former military yourself, was that one weapon firing a burst, or did it appear that it was more than one weapon?
Well, there was rapid fire, because that's why I thought it was fireworks at the time. There was quite significant, it went on for quite a significant amount of time, sufficient for me to get out of the chair and have a look through the window to see if it was fireworks. And it was still going on, so it happened for a while. But that was before there was any police response, which took about 10 minutes, because they all passed my flat along Upper Thames Street, which I saw them in the helicopters. In fact, the responses were unbelievably fast, including a helicopter.
So, Tony, roughly what time did you first hear that burst of gunfire? That was,
I lose track of time. It would have been about over half an hour ago, 40 minutes ago. It was about, the police came about 10 minutes afterwards, when they were on the scene passing with all the first police to go. Would have been about 10 minutes after I heard the gunfire.
Well, these are live pictures from just down the road from London Bridge. In fact, our camera was rather closer, but as you can understand, the police have been very keen to push back the public, push back the cordon, to try and get people as far away from the area as possible. Just a moment ago, you saw one police officer carrying what appeared to be a riot shield with helmet on, and in the distance on this shot here, you can see a number of ambulances, a number of police vans. Speaking a little bit earlier to our Home Affairs correspondent Mark White, it was pretty quick for him to identify. It was pretty quick for him to identify that there was armed response police on the ground. The Metropolitan Police suggesting that this is now a major incident in the parlance. A little earlier we were speaking to Will Heaven. He's the managing editor of The Spectator, and for many people that was the first, his tweets from the scene were the first indication that something significant, something serious was taking place in London this evening. He himself was in a taxi on its way over London Bridge. He saw a number of injured people. Here's what he said.
So I think it was about 10 past 10, quarter past 10. I was in the back of an Uber cab driving south over London Bridge, and suddenly noticed on the left-hand side of the bridge on the pavement there was somebody down on the pavement with a small crowd around them, clearly very concerned about their welfare. It looked, to be honest, it looked like someone had collapsed, someone had fallen over, and I sort of wondered what was going on. We drove a little bit further southwards across the bridge and noticed that there was another person on the right-hand side of the bridge who was also not on the pavement this time, but in the road itself. And it suddenly, the penny dropped that something quite serious was happening. And basically, suddenly the traffic came to a standstill, and our Uber driver said something bad is happening here. And we looked around, we could hear sirens coming, and then suddenly, further ahead of us, we noticed another casualty in the road. And then the traffic coming from the opposite direction, coming from the south, stopped, and a driver of a black cab said there has been a terrorist attack. I think the phrase he used was, it's Westminster all over again. They said there were numerous people in the road, and then a second cab driver stopped and said there had been a series of stabbings. I have I didn't see that myself, so I can't confirm that, but that's those are the reports that we heard. I certainly saw people who looked as if they'd been run over.
That was Will Heaven speaking to me just a few minutes ago. I want to bring back in our Home Affairs correspondent, Mark White. The Metropolitan Police, Mark, as they do in occasions such as this, communicating via social media, via Twitter, suggesting that they will release facts when they can. However, just in the past couple of minutes, they've suggested that there is a second incident that they're dealing with this evening.
Yes, that's right. Scotland Yard now confirming they are dealing with a second incident at Borough Market. Now, Borough Market, for those that know the geography of London, is not too far from London Bridge, but it's still a wee bit away. It is a separate incident, not the same incident. And the Scotland Yard confirming to us that they have emergency services personnel from all of the 3 emergency service agencies. Also, from a policing point of view, armed police officers are at both incidents. No idea at this stage about injuries at Borough Market. We have, of course, had these numerous reports now talking about at least half a dozen injuries on London Bridge, and some people we're told being quite seriously injured who are being triaged by members of the emergency services before being taken off to hospital. No information yet on how many injuries, if any, are at Borough Market, but it is, we're told, a separate crime scene, a separate incident. Armed police are at the scene. This is now a major incident that Scotland Yard is dealing with, and the information that I've got from sources is that, although they have not publicly said this, this is being treated as a terrorist-related incident. Scotland Yard will have to confirm that for themselves in the minutes or hours ahead, but the sources that I've been speaking to have told me that they believe that this was a terrorist-related incident.
Mark, in the past few minutes, these pictures, these are pre-recorded pictures that we're replaying at the moment, but we've seen a number of police officers with helmets and what appeared to be shields. What would they be? Why would they be wearing that sort of outfit at the moment?
Well, there are suggestions, and again, we must caveat this because it's unconfirmed, but there may still be a threat out there in terms of potential suspects or suspects out there. So that is why police are kitting up with protection, body protection, in terms of those shields that they have and their standard body armour. The level of protection, again, for armed officers is of a degree higher than that. They have ballistic protection. We've heard, again, these reports not confirmed at this stage by the police of multiple gunshots fired. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that if there was an attacker that was armed with something, they were armed with a gun. It's certainly possible that armed police may have opened fire on someone who was armed with, say, a knife, and we have heard reports of a knife attack that happened following the incident involving this transit-type white van that was involved in the incident on London Bridge. That there was a knife attack that happened in the immediate aftermath of that incident, and the van came to a halt. It's possible that the gunshots, if they were indeed gunshots that people were hearing, may have been from a policing side rather than any suspect. That will become clear, obviously, in the minutes and the hours ahead. But what we can say at this hour is that the police in London, Scotland Yard, and their colleagues from the City of London Police and the British Transport Police are responding to two separate incidents. You can see, you saw there on the map a short time ago, one at London Bridge, the other at Borough Market. There we can see these are officers from the Territorial Support Group. These are public order trained officers. They're kitting up in their ballistic shields, putting their protective helmets, their shields on there as well. So it would certainly suggest that they perceive that there is a threat out there, that there may still be a suspect or suspects who haven't been accounted for at this time. But they're kitting up, they're going and pushing forward as they will to the areas where these incidents happen. If there are suspects at large, clearly that complicates the situation much more. It means that one or more people are out there with the potential to continue doing harm, and they've got to be found. And that's why you're probably seeing police pushing forward. They may have a location that someone has been spotted at, or they may just be doing a systematic search of nearby streets, fully kitted up and taking all the precautions, because as we know, or is being reported at least, a number of people have been injured, and some of those, we believe, were injured as a result of a knife attack.
Mark, thank you. Well, as you might expect, with an incident of this type and a response of this size, Downing Street has told us that the Prime Minister, Theresa May, is in contact with officials and continues to be updated on the situation on the ground in and around London Bridge. These live pictures coming to us from our cameraman Pete, who's been on the ground within minutes of this incident taking place. He managed to speak to one eyewitness. Let's just take a listen.
What did you say? Outside Brindisa, like that, letting off gunshots.
Just say that again, sorry.
Brindisa restaurant, yeah?
Tapas Brandy.
Yeah, on the Borough High Street, on corner Borough High Street and Suffolk Street, yeah? Two armed marked police behind the X5, black X5. Well, get back. 3 shots let off.
Did you see what they were shooting at?
No, there's a crushed van outside Brindisa. So it looks like that's obviously where vans hit or something.
So that's on Borough Market?
No, on Suffolk Street, so on the corner. But look, why are these not all running? They're still shitting because there's shots getting fired and bang, bang, bang. But we've just been dashed back by the police.
Who are the police firing at?
I have no idea, mate. From what it looks like, though, there's shit going on.
Sorry, what's your name?
James.
And how old is he?
24, but I'm local. My brother works in Borough High Street.
Well, there we have from James, who very kindly spoke to our cameraman there. It appears that the second witness to some significant gunfire in and around London Bridge. He also spoke of a crushed van. The reason for it being crushed, it appeared in his mind to have been moving at speed. We know that there have been a number of injuries reported on London Bridge. We know that there have also been a number of reports of a knife attack that have followed. That, of course, is yet to be confirmed. But a little earlier, when we spoke to Tony Murphy, that witness close to Southwark Bridge, he spoke of rapid gunfire, tremendous gunfire that he believed had happened before the police were there in numbers. Now, he told me that he didn't actually, he was not in a position to see London Bridge directly, so that may well not have been the case. However, we have now 2 separate reports of gunfire on London Bridge. Will Heaven, that we spoke to just a little earlier, was travelling over the bridge in the immediate aftermath of the incident. He did not hear any gunshots, but he did see a number of people moving away at pace from the bridge, from his position stationary there. He also saw a number of people who had been injured on either side of the bridge itself. The very latest that we have from British Transport Police is this, that there are reports of a, in their words, number of casualties as a result of an incident that possibly involved both a vehicle and a knife. I just want to listen again to that witness that we had speaking to our cameraman. Pete, just a moment ago. It appears that he saw both the van and heard the gunfire. Let's have a listen.
Hi, Emily. Yeah, I'm live. I was literally, I crossed over London. What did you say?
Outside Brindisa. Like that. Letting off gunshots.
Just say that again, sorry.
Brindisa restaurant, yeah?
Yeah, Tapas Brandisha.
Yeah, on the Borough High Street, on corner by High Street
Yeah.
and Southern Street. Yeah, 2 armed marked police behind the X5, black X5. Verna, get back. 3 shots let off.
Did you see what they were
3
shooting
shots. No, but there's a crushed van outside Brindisa. Yeah, like, so it looks like that's obviously where vans hit or something.
So that's on Borough Market? Yeah?
No, on Southern Street, so on the
left.
corner. But look, why are these little...
That was the witness, James, again, and we just had a chance to listen to that a bit more carefully. He was close to Borough High Street. Now, for those who don't know London geography, Borough High Street is very close to London Bridge itself, and as often happens at times like this, conflicting reports of separate incidents may well prove to be the same incident. However, what James was saying there, that he saw 2 armed police behind a BMW X5, a large 4x4 vehicle, telling people to move away from the area and then firing their weapons, would appear to suggest at least that there are 2 incidents taking place, one on the bridge itself, another that has happened at Borough Market. It's one of those popular areas in the heart of London, restaurants, bars. Many people would have been gathering there. Met Police, the latest that they are telling us is that armed officers are responding at both scenes. We've now had a number of reports from witnesses in and around London Bridge who've seen injured people on the ground. We know that the transport situation in that part of London will be very, very difficult right now, with both the bridge and the local tube station being closed. It does appear that a vehicle has careened into a number of individuals on London Bridge. These pictures that we're looking at now, this is just the live pictures that we're looking at just now. Another van of police officers being brought in, removing their outer clothing before putting on the body armour and picking up their shields, which we've seen a number of times this evening. They're the police officers that have been assembling behind those ambulances just a short distance away from London Bridge itself. The first person we spoke to this evening was Caroline Brenier.
So I just was walking out of the London Bridge station, and I was walking to catch a bus. There were police officers in the street. Some of them were coming by car, other ones were running. Then we just, like, the traffic was stopped, the buses were stopped. We just saw police officer just running, and there was one guy telling them to go in this or this direction, but I don't know exactly where they were going. And then this specific guy wearing a white shirt just left down, I think it's Solid Street. Then the area was evacuated, so I went to the London Bridge station, and 5 minutes after that, the station was evacuated. So everybody coming out of the station, and now the police are going to move down the street, and there are still people walking in the street, but like most of the people they left.
But in terms of people who are in and around London Bridge, it appears from the pictures that we're looking at the moment that they are being directed out of the area by the police.
Well, the police just asked people to move, and they did, and they moved just quietly, and everybody left.
And in terms of when the station itself was evacuated, how was that announcement made? Was that by someone coming live over the tannoy, or was this one of the messages that they had pre-recorded? I'm just trying to get to grips with what you were told when you were told to leave the station.
So I wasn't inside the station at the moment. I was outside the station. I just saw people coming out of the station. So everybody was coming out, and like a few minutes after that, they just told us to leave the street. So we went down the street a little bit. But I wasn't inside the tube station when they asked people to leave.
And of course, this being a Saturday night in London, one presumes there are quite a lot of people on the streets at this time.
Yes, there is. There were like a lot of people coming out of the station. Most of them are gone now. The street looks pretty empty for a Saturday night, but there's still people walking by. So you can't go up the street. You can't access the area.
And how have people been reacting? You will have seen many faces moving past you this evening as events on London Bridge have unfolded. Have people been responding with panic, with fear, with uncertainty?
Well, the people coming out of the station, they moved like pretty quietly, calmly. There was no panic, but I saw people running from near the scene of the incident. They were just running down the street, so I saw a few people running, but mainly it was quiet. But the police officers were kind of shouting at us to leave, so people I think they didn't want to panic or anything, and they just left.
Well, clearly this is a fast-moving and developing story with a number of conflicting reports. So let's just reiterate that which we know, that which we have heard from official sources. The Metropolitan Police and indeed Transport for London confirming that there is a major incident in and around London Bridge. The bridge itself has been closed. We've heard a number of reports of a vehicle causing injuries to several people on the bridge itself. The Metropolitan Police have also told us that they're investigating and responding to reports of an incident at Borough Market. Now, that very popular area with locals and indeed with tourists, bars, restaurants and the like, is but a short distance away from the bridge itself. So it may well be the case that one incident has been confused into two. We've spoken to a number of people this evening who have been pushed back, as our cameras have shown, as the police have tried to create a cordon. Reports unconfirmed that a knife attack followed that vehicular attack on London Bridge itself. We know that there are, as you can see, police there in numbers, in riot gear, carrying shields. We know that there are armed police there in numbers, as identified by our Home Affairs correspondent, Mark White. He also suggested that sources were telling him that there was now a working assumption that this was a terrorist attack. For many people who first learnt of this incident this evening, the place they would have heard about it was Twitter. Will Heaven works for The Spectator magazine. He was in a taxi crossing London Bridge in the immediate aftermath of whatever did take place. Before we listen to him, just a line that we're hearing, but we'll come to that in a second. Will Heaven spoke to me and told me that he had seen a number of people hit by a vehicle. Here's what he said.
So I think it was about 10 past 10, quarter past 10. I was in the back of an Uber cab driving south over London Bridge, and suddenly noticed on the left-hand side of the bridge on the pavement there was somebody down on the pavement with a small crowd around them, clearly very concerned about their welfare. It looked, to be honest, it looked like someone had collapsed, someone had fallen over, and I sort of wondered what was going on. We drove a little bit further southwards across the bridge and noticed that there was another person on the right-hand side of the bridge who was also not on the pavement this time, but in the road itself. And it suddenly, the penny dropped that something quite serious was happening. And basically, suddenly the traffic came to a standstill, and our Uber driver said something bad is happening here, and we looked around. We could hear sirens coming, and then suddenly, further ahead of us, we noticed another casualty in the road, and then the traffic coming from the opposite direction, coming from the south, stopped, and a driver of a black cab said there has been a terrorist attack. I think the phrase he used was, it's Westminster all over again. They said there were numerous people in the road, and then a second cab driver stopped and said there had been a series of stabbings. I have I didn't see that myself, so I can't confirm that, but that's, those are the reports that we heard. I certainly saw people who looked as if they'd been run over.
Will, from what you saw, and of course you saw someone injured as you were driving south on your side of the bridge, you then saw someone injured on the other side. In your mind, is there any possibility that this just could have been an accident?
No, I don't think it was an accident, and I think I would say, particularly judging from the response to the emergency services, it was clear that something very serious was going on. So we stopped. After we'd seen all of that, we stopped in standstill for a few minutes, and I turned around, and behind me, very soon after that, I saw two policemen get out of a BMW 4x4, and they were holding machine guns, and they were putting on helmets. It was clear at least that they thought they were responding to something far more serious than a road traffic accident.
Well, as Will Heaven was suggesting there, an incident clearly far more serious than a road traffic accident taking place in and around the area leading up to London Bridge. Just a little bit earlier on, and we're putting the pieces of this this puzzle together as you are. We spoke to Nick Archer. He had been in a bar a distance away from London Bridge itself. He came out of that bar, and being a Saturday night, saw someone lying on the ground, thought perhaps just someone who'd enjoyed themselves too much. It appeared that wasn't the case. Now, he suggested that where he was some distance, maybe a 10-minute walk away from London Bridge. So that may well have been the route. That the vehicle that we're told is a van. Another witness speaking to us earlier suggesting that it was crushed as a result of its final impact. That may well have been the first stage in this horrific incident that is unfolding in front of us at the moment. We have now had two separate reports from witnesses of gunfire. Nothing, I should reiterate, from the police themselves, but one, Tony Murphy, whose flat is next to Southwark Bridge, adjacent to London Bridge, suggested that there had been gunfire ahead of the police arriving there in numbers. He said that they got there in substantial numbers some 10 minutes after that burst, that tremendous gunfire as he described it. One other witness that our cameraman providing these live pictures spoke to us a little bit earlier about suggested that there was gunfire in and around the area of Borough Market. Certainly we do know that the Metropolitan Police in London are treating this as a major incident, that they are responding to the incident close to where these pictures were taken in on London Bridge itself, and that incident at Borough Market, again, just a short distance away from where there have been numerous reports now of a van injuring people by driving into them or on the bridge. However, as is always the case at times like this, as you can see in that map there, that signifies just how close Borough Market is, and indeed London Bridge Tube Station, equidistant but to the east there on the south side of the River Thames. It is pretty clear that there is at least one significant incident that took place on London Bridge. There may have also been another incident a short distance away from Borough Market. The latest that we're hearing from the Press Association news agency, the PA, they've been telling us that members of the public were told to run away as fast as they could from the area. There is some video that has been circulating on social media, as yet unconfirmed, and we certainly won't bring it to you so we can be a little bit more certain as to its origin, but which shows police officers entering a bar close to London Bridge. We are purports to show police entering a bar close to London Bridge and telling people to get out. We also are supposing that a hotel in the area has been evacuated. The only evidence that we have for that, and certainly we have not heard from the police, we haven't heard from the hotel itself, whichever one it may be, was people in numbers, in their pyjamas, in their nightshirts, moving away from the area of London Bridge and away from that police cordon, which, as you can see, is firmly now in place. Armed police are in the area in numbers. British Transport Police suggesting that there are reports of multiple casualties. Nick Brandon from the British Transport Police control room said that he received reports of an incident possibly involving a knife and also a vehicle. So much of this needs to be confirmed by official sources. We do know that the Prime Minister is being kept informed as to events on the ground. We're also hearing that the Prime Minister is that the American President is being briefed as to the situation on the ground. All of this so soon after the incident on Westminster Bridge and then, of course, in Parliament Square, which led to so many people asking about the security in and around Parliament. This, not an area that would have enjoyed the same level of security, not an area that would have had the same number of police, armed police, ready to respond to any particular incident. However, the witnesses that we've been speaking to suggesting that police did get there and did get there quickly as soon as it became clear that something has happened. The Metropolitan Police have tweeted this. At 8 minutes past 10, officers responded to reports of a vehicle in collision with pedestrians on London Bridge. Officers have then responded to reports of stabbings in Borough Market. Armed officers responded and shots have been fired. Officers are now responding to an incident in the Vauxhall area. Now, that again is south of the Thames in London, but to the west. Essentially, if you all of these areas that were identified by the Metropolitan Police as being involved, very, very close to each other. A little bit earlier, and I'm wondering if my director can find this again, we spoke to a young man who'd been in the area of Borough Market. He spoke to our cameraman, Pete, and he described seeing police officers responding. We now have from the Metropolitan Police themselves confirmation that shots were fired. This may well be the incident that they're describing.
Brindisa restaurant, yeah?
Tapas Brandy.
Yeah, on the Borough High Street, on corner Borough High Street and Suffolk Street. Yeah, 2 armed marked police behind the X5, black X5. Verna, get back! 3 shots let off. Did you see what they were shooting at? No, there's a crushed van outside Brindisa. Yeah, like, so it looks like that's obviously where vans hit or something.
Let me just read you those tweets that I was just responding to from the Metropolitan Police. The information available at this stage, they say, from 22:08 hours, officers responded to reports of a vehicle in collision with pedestrians on London Bridge. Officers have then responded to reports of stabbings in Borough Market very close to London Bridge. They continue. Armed police officers responded. Shots have been fired. Officers are now responding to an incident in the Vauxhall area. No more information from the police as to what is happening in Vauxhall. There were reports that a stabbing incident followed the collision between that vehicle and pedestrians on London Bridge, which we know has led to a number of injuries. It may well be that the stabbing incident that a number of people were reporting was not on the bridge itself, but in Borough Market. Let me just remind you that the Prime Minister, we are being told by a Number 10 spokesman that the Prime Minister is in contact with officials, is regularly being updated on what's happening in London. In fact, we may well see the Prime Minister returning to the United Kingdom. These are live pictures. Let's just listen in.
Police are telling us all to move back.
Gary.
With those live pictures being provided to us by our cameraman Pete. And Pete, I hope that you can hear me, and I know the sound quality will not be great, but I just wonder if you can just tell us what exactly happened there. It looks like, is that someone in custody?
Neil, if you can hear me, I can't hold you.
Leave the area, please!
So police have... They just apprehended some guy who they've just taken off in a vehicle. I think they're taking him down the corner, actually. This is him now. Right, have you been round there?
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please leave the area for your own safety? Please leave the area.
Sorry about that. That was...
Right, clear the streets, please. Move away from this junction.
Just harder, just leave the area.
Move away from the junction.
Tell me something.
I'm telling you, you're live.
Move away.
Go down to a pub down the alley.
As possible. It does appear, from the attitude of the police, from what they've said there, for your own safety, please move back. And we did see one individual being taken into custody there, acting with a certain amount of urgency. Well, the police have indeed been advising people on Twitter. In fact, I'm just going to go to the Metropolitan Police account because they have been providing a number of updates through the evening. They are now telling people to run, hide and tell if caught up in the attack. To bring you up to date, this story develops at around about 10:10 this evening. The Metropolitan Police responded to reports of an incident on London Bridge. A vehicle was said to have driven into a number of people. We spoke a little bit earlier to Will Heaven, a journalist who was passing over the bridge in a taxi at the time. He was heading south. He saw an individual lying on the pavement to his left as he crossed over the bridge. Perhaps looked like a road traffic accident at that point. He then saw another individual lying on the road. It became clear at that point that this was perhaps something more than a road traffic accident. The Metropolitan Police responded to the reports from Will and others. They then, according to the Met Police Twitter feed, responded to reports of stabbings in nearby Borough Market. The only information they're providing to us at the moment is this, that armed officers responded and shots have been fired. They are now responding to an incident in the Vauxhall area, which, as you look at that map there, you can see not a huge distance away, just south and southwest from London Bridge itself. Easily walkable, indeed, a journey that many people watching this will have taken, walking along South Bank, along the embankment, past Parliament on the other side of the Thames, where, of course, very recently indeed, there was that terrorist incident involving an individual driving a vehicle into pedestrians on Westminster Bridge and then that vehicle round into Parliament Square. Just continuing to monitor the information which is coming to us from a variety of sources. Yeah, the very latest that we can tell you. A number of people have been injured. In the police's terminology, a number of casualties, no words as to whether or not any of those have resulted in fatalities. We know that police are there in numbers. Our cameraman has been pushed quite some distance, by my reckoning now, back from the bridge into, in fact, Borough Market. It seems apparent that there is an active investigation ongoing. It seems clear that police that are on the ground there are concerned about there being subsequent attacks subsequent to that one that we know about on London Bridge. Let's speak to Sky producer Nick Stiliano, who is actually in Borough Market at the moment. Nick, our camera has been pushed back quite some distance now. What can you tell us?
That's right. I'm just south of Borough Station at the moment. I've just been pushed back by a London Fire Brigade officer. There's a group of about 10 or 12 armed police with shields moving across up past Borough Market. There's about 3 or 4 sort of ambulance vehicles and doctors' vehicles, and they're blocking all the road. And there's a lot of police, non-armed police, coming down south and moving people inside the buildings, inside the pubs around. You might be able to hear that armed support unit police vehicle that's coming down the street now behind me. There's a lot of activity from lots of different emergency services. We've got police, we've got London Fire Brigade, we've got community support officers, and just behind me as well now there's another police transporter van being ushered through the traffic. It's absolutely gridlock. Not a lot of people know what's going on. It seems to be that the cars are more in tune with what's going on because they've got the radio in. People are kind of out on their Saturday night. They're enjoying there's a pub to my left. They're kind of just watching kind of the news now, and they're just getting drinks, and they've been told by the authorities to just kind of stay inside.
So when you say that, there appears to us, watching these pictures, seeing the police responding to our camera to pedestrians, there appears to be something of a sense of urgency.
Yeah, I think you can hear that. I'm just getting told to move back and further back. I've probably moved about 200 metres since we've just been on the phone. And it's a London Fire Brigade officer who seems to be cordoning off the area. They keep shouting it's for your own safety. And I can see from my phone, I can see the Sky News live shot at the moment, and it seems that people are just making a very wide kind of safe area. There's sort of about, at last count, about 8 police officers kind of ushering people out. There's confusion. There's a lot of people just trying to understand what's going on. There's a police officer in front of me trying to determine which the best way is to kind of cordon the side streets. There's a lot of side streets south of Borough Market, so people are walking down there and not really knowing where to go that's safe.
Nick, just for those who don't understand the geography of London, who are not aware of this part of London, just describe to us where we are in relation to London Bridge, and I mean, just how busy would these streets have been had this incident not have taken place?
I mean, it's very busy. I mean, I'm not as close to London Bridge as some of our Sky crews, but I'm just south of Borough Tube Station, which is one tube stop away from London Bridge. So this cordon seems to be quite vast, more vast than we saw a few months ago. There's lots of different emergency services coordinating the cordon. I'm kind of southeast of Borough Market, just kind of looking at the Maps app on my phone, and I'm probably about sort of maybe a kilometre away from London Bridge itself, but the police cars are kind of driving up more and more, and they're blocking the road. And the tapes just come out now. They're really trying to seal off, and lots of shouts are coming around saying that for your own safety, keep back. People in the adjacent flats being told to stay inside and lock the doors. People behind the cordon live in flats by Borough Tube Station. There's red and white tape being placed around them, and none of the police officers are giving any update at all. And it seems to be the London Fire Brigade that are coordinating with the Metropolitan Police. I see a lot of plainclothes officers as well coming through the cordon and heading towards the London Bridge area. But Borough Market, London Bridge, there's lots of popular pubs there. People will be out on a Saturday night, and the pub that I'm standing outside at the moment, they don't even have the news on. They've got some kind of entertainment program inside, but people are kind of shoring up inside that pub, which is now behind the cordon. So I'm not sure how those people are going to be taken to safety. There's lots of people inside there that are on the phone. I assume kind of talking to loved ones. And there's just lots of people, I'd say about sort of 40, 50 people trying to work out where to go, which is safe, and they won't be ushered away by the emergency services.
Pause there, and as we approach the end of the hour, let's just remind our viewers as to what we know and what is conflicted in terms of the information that we're receiving. We were heard from the police, from the Metropolitan Police based in London. They responded at 8 minutes past 10 to reports of an incident on the bridge you can see there, London Bridge. A number of injuries said to have occurred as a result of a vehicle veering on and off the road. We spoke to Will Heaven, a journalist with The Spectator magazine, who was heading across the bridge at that point. He said that he saw first one individual lying on the ground on the left of his taxi, and then another. And when I asked him whether or not it could be the case that this was an accident. He said that he did not believe it was so. We spoke to Tony Murphy, who lives very close to London Bridge, adjacent in fact to Southwark Bridge. He described hearing gunfire, tremendous gunfire, a prolonged burst of it, in his view, before the police were there in numbers. Now, this is where things become rather complicated. The Metropolitan Police have confirmed that there was another incident that they were dealing with, reports of stabbings that took place in the Borough Market area of London. Armed police responded, shots were fired. The police unable to provide any more information than that for the time being. That may well be the volley of gunfire that Tony Murphy was telling us about earlier. We then also spoke, in fact, our cameraman Pete has been diligently providing these pictures this evening as the cordon continues to be pushed back and back and back. He spoke to a young man, James, who had been in and around Borough Market. He described seeing a couple of armed police officers behind a BMW 4x4 vehicle firing a volley of gunfire themselves. We are now hearing from the Metropolitan Police that there is a third incident that they are investigating, this time in and around the Vauxhall area of South London. No more words from them as to whether or not as to the nature of the incident in the Vauxhall area. Speculation on social media, which we won't give you the specifics of, but speculation that there is police activity in other parts of London this evening. We'll talk to you about that when we have something rather more concrete than supposition on Twitter. Well, of course, with the police confirming that there have been a number of people injured, the concern will be that those injuries will have led to fatalities. We do know that the ambulance service were there quickly and were there in numbers. These pictures we're replaying at the moment of police in riot gear, in helmets, moving at speed, telling people to push back as the cordon expands. We believe that these are the signs of an active hunt. Nothing from the police, of course, to confirm that, but having them dressed in riot gear with the helmets, with the shields, at least suggests that they believe that there's the possibility that people armed are on the streets still. Well, this is Sky News at midnight, and police are dealing with what they believe are terrorist incidents in a variety of locations around central London. An eyewitness reports that a van drove through pedestrians on London Bridge, resulting in a number of casualties, and that police opened fire. Well, Scotland Yard is saying that there are further incidents at nearby Borough Market and indeed at Vauxhall. Nick Brandon from the British Transport Police Control Room suggesting he received reports of an incident possibly involving a knife and a vehicle. We know that a number of people in pubs and bars in and around the area have been asked to leave just as soon as they could. One presumes that was on the advice of the police. There's some video that's being circulated on social media which shows police officers entering a bar in the area of Borough Market and telling people to get out as soon as possible. This would appear to be that video itself that I was talking to you about just a second ago. Well, that indeed was the video that we were seeing circulated in social media. It appears that the police entered that bar and told people to get out, get down or get out just as quickly as possible. A little earlier, I spoke to Will Heaven, a journalist from The Spectator magazine, a political magazine. He had been travelling over London Bridge in what he believed to be the immediate aftermath of whatever took place. Here's what he told me.
So I think it was about 10 past 10, quarter past 10. I was in the back of an Uber cab driving south over London Bridge, and suddenly noticed on the left-hand side of the bridge on the pavement there was somebody down on the pavement with a small crowd around them, clearly very concerned about their welfare. It looked, to be honest, it looked like someone had collapsed, someone had fallen over, and I sort of wondered what was going on. We drove a little bit further southwards across the bridge and noticed that there was another person on the right-hand side of the bridge who was also not on the pavement this time, but in the road itself. And it suddenly, the penny dropped that something quite serious was happening. And basically, suddenly the traffic came to a standstill, and our Uber driver said something bad is happening here, and we looked around. We could hear sirens coming, and then suddenly, further ahead of us, we noticed another casualty in the road, and then the traffic coming from the opposite direction, coming from the south, stopped, and a driver of a black cab said there has been a terrorist attack. I think the phrase he used was, it's Westminster all over again. They said there were numerous people in the road, and then a second cab driver stopped and said there had been a series of stabbings. I have I didn't see that myself, so I can't confirm that, but those are the reports that we heard. I certainly saw people who looked as if they'd been run over.
Will, from what you saw, and of course you saw someone injured as you were driving south on your side of the bridge, you then saw someone injured on the other side. In your mind, is there any possibility that this just could have been an accident?
No, I don't think it was an accident, and I think I would say, particularly judging from the response to the emergency services, it was clear that something very serious was going on. So we stopped. After we'd seen all of that, we stopped in standstill for a few minutes, and I turned around, and behind me, very soon after that, I saw two policemen get out of a BMW 4x4, and they were holding machine guns, and they were putting on helmets. It was clear at least that they thought they were responding to something far more serious than a road traffic accident.
Well, indeed, Sky Sources telling us a little bit earlier, telling our Home Affairs correspondent, in fact, Mark White, that they believe this incident to be terrorism. Much of the information, much of the solid information that we've been receiving this evening has been coming from the Metropolitan Police themselves via their social media accounts. And the very latest coming to us in the past couple of minutes, the following. They say this: please remain calm but be alert and vigilant. We are using all necessary skills and resources at London Bridge, Borough Market and Vauxhall. Those are the three separate locations that have been identified by the Metropolitan Police as of interest. We know that on London Bridge itself, a van has crashed into, driven intentionally, it would appear, into a number of people. No indication of the number of casualties, but certainly more than a handful, it would appear. There were also reports of an incident in nearby Borough Market, stabbing. A report of several reports of stabbing supposed to have taken place there. The police responded, armed police responded. They say that shots have been fired, and latterly we were told that they were also dealing with reports of an incident in and around the Vauxhall area. Now, just in terms of the geography, as we look at these pictures of armed police very close to London Bridge itself, the geography of the matter is that London Bridge and Borough Market are but a short walk from each other. Vauxhall rather more of a distance away. We spoke to Nick Archer a little bit earlier. He was in a bar about, in his words, 5 or 10 minutes walk away from the bridge itself. He said that when he exited this bar, he saw someone on the ground, believed, of course, before reports had widely circulated of what had been taking place in London this evening. He thought it was simply someone who'd enjoyed their Saturday night too much. It was not. It was someone who was suffering from a number of injuries. He saw a variety of police vans pass. One of them stopped and started providing first aid. And it may well be the case that that was perhaps the first part of the events that are unfolding this evening. The Metropolitan Police are telling us that they will release facts when they can. But of course, they are very concerned that their information must be accurate in their words. So it may well be the case we don't hear much from them for quite some time, particularly given the fact that resources will have been stretched. A major incident has been declared in London this evening. Let's speak to Sky reporter Caterina Vitozzi. Caterina, where exactly are you? We can see the flashing lights just over your shoulder, but where exactly are you in relation to the incident in London Bridge and Borough Market?
So London Bridge is in that direction behind me to the east. We've been pushed back by the police past these cordons to the other side of Southwark Bridge. But a little earlier on, I was on sort of the south side of London Bridge. This is very much alive, ongoing and incredibly busy and large police operation here. There were police officers shouting at the remaining pedestrians that were in that area to get back as far as possible. They were pushing people south away from London Bridge and west to the direction that we are in now. There was a tremendous amount of police presence. If we just want to have a look behind me, you can see that even in this direction, away from sort of around a good 10-minute walk from London Bridge, there's a huge amount of police cars, ambulances who have responded to this incident. There are also helicopters flying overhead, and we are hearing about incidents in 3 locations now, not only London Bridge, but also in the Southwark area, which is where I'm standing now, and also in Vauxhall as well. And what we're hearing is that, according to Metropolitan Police sources, that they are looking for 3 suspects. It is not known, there has been no sort of identity or description of these suspects offered at this time, but according to eyewitness reports, it is certainly a very traumatic incident, one which has resulted in a number of casualties.
Caterina, let's just describe these. I want to just describe these pictures that we're seeing at the moment at your location. It would appear to be, the best part of perhaps, well, thus far at least, certainly into triple figures. Members of the public walking away from those flashing lights towards the camera with their hands on their heads. If I can ask your cameraman to return to that shot, that would be great. Actually, of those people walking towards the camera. So we can just see in just a little bit more detail. That is, maybe a half a mile up the road from you, and they're not being escorted.
So what we're...
Yeah, sorry, carry on,
They're not being escorted, but they're not being escorted. And what was happening when we were in London Bridge is that there were a number of people who were perhaps about 5 minutes walk away from London Bridge. And when I was in that area, the police were very, screaming essentially at pedestrians to get out, to clear that area. Now, these may have been people who were just in bars in the area, who were hanging around, maybe trying to take photographs or to get some information about what was happening. But now it looks like these people are being, there's no police presence around them, but they have their hands on their heads and they're being escorted, pushed west out of the direction from London Bridge there, if you can see in our pictures. And these are people who are, it's difficult to say, but there are young people, old people, there's men dressed in suits, there's a few clutching a couple of bottles of beer, there are a few in tears. So these are clearly people who are being moved out of the area, and it seems that someone has told them to put their hands on their heads as they are doing so.
Caterina, thanks very much indeed. Let's bring in again Sky producer Nick Stiliano, who's on the streets of London this evening. Nick, tell us where you are and what you've been seeing.
I'm just southeast of Borough Tube Station, which is about a kilometre south of London Bridge itself. You might be seeing my pictures at the moment. There's a large cordon. There's police urging people to get back. And I'm actually with a man called Ahmed at the moment, who was just returning from a night out with friends. Ahmed, you were trying to get back to your house, which is actually inside the cordon. Is that right?
Yeah, I just live at the back of the station. Yeah, I live at the back of the Borough station, but I can't get access to my house.
We appear to have lost Nick there. I mean, as you can imagine, as we try to get our reporters as close as we can to try and see exactly what has been happening. The problem is, of course, that the police want to do their job. And as we just saw in the past couple of minutes on the camera with Katerina, they're trying to get as many people out of the area as possible. But of course, with closing the bridge, closing London Bridge, closing the tube station, and indeed there are reports of other transport disruption elsewhere. Vauxhall, I should say, is something of a hub for that part of London south of the river. It may well prove to be rather difficult for people to get home. I just want to bring in, joining me in the studio is our defence correspondent, Alistair Bunkle, who's been following what's going on at the moment. Now, we know that the Prime Minister is being kept up to date with the event. One imagines she'll be heading back to number 10 just as soon as possible.
The latest I've heard is that she's on her way back to number 10, Downing Street. I have to confess, I don't know where she was, if she wasn't in Downing Street tonight anyway, but she is on her way back, and she will be being briefed by the Metropolitan Police, by Counter-Terror Command, and by senior security officials. Remember when the Manchester attacks happened, really not that long ago, she phoned Jeremy Corbyn, the Labour leader, in the middle of the night, I think on 2 occasions, to brief him as well, and also to agree a suspension in campaigning. So it wouldn't be unthinkable that she will also be keeping the Labour leader informed of what's going on.
Just one second, Alistair. Sorry to interrupt, but it does appear we were told that there was reports of a third incident. That third incident was at a location rather further away at Vauxhall. We are now hearing that Vauxhall Station has reopened, and that is, as I mentioned, something of a hub. It's a bus station, it's a train station, it's a tube station. So that particular part of the story may well have been someone concerned for legitimate reasons. We will wait to hear from the police themselves, but it, at least for the time being, appears that the situation in and around Vauxhall may not be as problematic as that which we've seen in Borough Market and indeed, of course, on London Bridge itself. Just to talk about what we have seen this evening in terms of the response, armed police officers very, very quickly making their way to the scene. Other emergency personnel, we've heard fire service has been deployed. We've heard the ambulance service, of course, will have been deployed. There will have been a plan in place for for an event such as this.
Absolutely. The Metropolitan Police and the City of London Police, don't forget, and this virtually is on the border of the two, because the City of London Police take care of the financial area of London, which is really, I mean, I don't know officially, but is essentially just over the bridge from London Bridge, just over north of the River Thames. And they will have worked very closely in the past, training for events like this. The armed police response teams are supposed to be on the scene within minutes of any incident happening, and all the evidence that we've heard from witnesses tonight suggests that they were. We can see them now in our various pictures, armed police on the cordons, as well as you can see there in that television picture, police constables in uniform keeping guard at a cordon that will have been pushed back as the situation will have developed. It doesn't surprise me entirely that the scene at Vauxhall, the incident at Vauxhall, looks as though it has turned out to be nothing. There was a certain logic to it in its geography, in so much that it isn't that far from London Bridge. But if you took the 3 incidents that we knew of, London Bridge, Borough Market and Vauxhall, I think to a lot of Londoners, London Bridge and Borough Market are essentially one and the same place.
Alistair, I just want to pause there for a second and bring back in our reporter on the scene, Katerina Vitozzi. Katerina, you've been speaking to someone who was caught up in the incident this evening.
Yes, I am. I'm here with Simon Thompson, who was in London Bridge as the events were unfolding. Simon, can you just tell us where you were and what you saw?
Yeah, I was just outside Borough Market, and I just saw suddenly loads of people run away from the market, and there was people lying on the ground, and there was a taxi driver who had his sort of window down. He was really shouting at people to run. We ran for like 100 metres, and then sort of loads of police cars turned up, and there was kind of a period of quite intense gunfire. I hid in a restaurant basement for about an hour, and then we were down there for quite a while. The police told us to get out, and then there was more gunfire, I'd say, pretty much as soon as we left the building. So we've been down there.
Unpreventable and an almost impossible thing to stop.
Indeed. Well, police, was asking people to be on a state of high alert, of vigilance, but what can you really do?
And then they've just evacuated us now, so...
And what were the police telling you about what was happening, what the events were?
We didn't know. They didn't tell us anything. Well, they just said there'd been an incident. They didn't give us any details. But we could see on the CCTV there were people outside the restaurant on the ground.
And these were people who had been injured?
Yeah. The police just said there'd been casualties, so I don't know what extent of their injuries were.
And how did you feel? You didn't know what was happening?
Yeah, it was terrifying, yeah. I don't know, still in a state of shock, to be honest.
And we just saw the police escorting people coming out from that area with your hands on your head. Why was that?
To be honest, I don't know if anyone actually told us to do that, but everyone else was doing it, so just kind of started doing it as well. But yeah, I'm not sure why. Sorry about that.
That's fine. And so when you were the cab driver was initially saying what he had seen, what were you seeing at that time?
Just saw people on the floor and then just ran. And just the wave of people running away, but didn't see anything else apart from that.
And are you able to say how long after you had seen that cab driver, seeing people lying on the floor, did you start hearing gunfire? Can you estimate how long that may have been?
5 minutes, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less, but within that margin.
And how many people were crowding in this? You described being in a basement. How many people?
It was about 20 of us, about 20 people, yeah.
And were people looking on their phones? How were you finding out what was happening?
Yeah, people were looking on the phones, but the news was a bit slow to kind of catch on. But yeah, people checked Twitter and rang relatives who then checked on news websites, and it slowly came through.
And as you were coming out, what were you able to see? Because obviously now we're standing about 10-15 minutes walk from where you were now. What were you seeing as you were coming through to this point?
Lots of kind of first aid kits and lots of medical kind of things. There were people on the ground previously, and then apart from that, just lots of armed police and vans and that kind of thing.
And what exactly were the police saying to you as they're trying to get you out of the area?
They said they're looking for suspects across London, and that we potentially weren't safe where we were, and that we should move basically towards this Waterloo, which was the safer area.
And I imagine there were plenty of people around you, and yourself. You describe yourself being in a state of shock now.
Yeah, pretty much, definitely.
And was it busy? Did it look like it was a busy normal Saturday night around?
It was very busy. Yeah, there was a lot of people. It's kind of hard to tell when people are moving, but yeah, it was certainly walking up to the station. It was very busy. There was all sorts of people on nights out and that kind of thing.
And how did you? At what point did you realise that you felt it was safe to leave the basement? Did the police come down, ramp up by the?
The police basically had to tell us. They forced us out. Yeah.
So they came into the restaurant.
Yeah. Yeah, and they said it was not safe to be there anymore.
Simon, thank you very much for speaking to us.
Okay. Cheers.
So, hearing from Simon Thompson there, who was caught up in the events happening around London Bridge this evening. The police are continuing to push people further away from the area. You heard Simon there describing how police saying that London Bridge wasn't safe for the people who were sheltering, who had gone into bars, had gone into basement areas, gone into restaurants, trying to escape what was happening outside. The eyewitness Simon there describing seeing several casualties on the ground, and then police, after about an hour and a half, moving everyone that was with him in the area. He described there being about 20 people taking shelter in the restaurant he was in. The police moving them along, saying it wasn't safe, as those people were evacuated out of that area, pushing them west to where we are now, pushing them out of the immediate vicinity of London Bridge.
Katerina, thanks very much indeed. Let's speak again to our defence correspondent, Alistair Bunkle. And we knew that the Prime Minister was on her way back to London, and we have now had confirmation of that, which we both suspected, that she will be chairing the Emergency Contingency Committee.
The Prime Minister was in the north of England as part of the election campaign. She is now back on her way back to Downing Street. Number 10 spokesman says that the Prime Minister is in contact with officials and is being regularly updated on the incident at London Bridge. She will chair, we understand, a meeting of COBRA, the government's emergency committee, in the morning. That will inevitably involve senior cabinet ministers, such as the Home Secretary, the Defence Secretary, the Foreign Secretary, probably the Chancellor as well. I imagine, given an instance like this, the Health Secretary will be present. Also senior figures in intelligence agencies.
Let's return to Sky producer Nick Stylianou, who has been in and around the Borough Market area this evening. And Nick, as is often the case when incidents like this take place, you know, people look out for one another. That's what you've been discovering.
That's exactly right. Just as you've been talking, they've removed the cordon, and it doesn't seem to be clear where exactly the exclusion zone is. I've got here Robert, who works at the Royal Oak pub. Robert, what exactly is happening at the Royal Oak pub?
At the moment, we're taking in, like, families with kids, because the kids have been on the street and they've been absolutely shattered and they're nervous and some of them are crying. And in these days, you need somebody with a good heart to try and help them as much as you can. For every bad person out there, there is 1,000 or 1,000,000 good people which will try and help as many people as they can. Now, the landlords of the Royal Oak in Tabard Street is Mr. Frank Taylor and Mr. John Porteous. Myself, Robert Bergin, and we've got a couple of other staff on there at the moment are trying to get the kids off the street and just make them feel a little bit more safer.
Well, that was Nick Stylianou speaking to one of those who've been on the ground this evening, trying to help those who've been pushed through, who've found themselves in a strange town with frightening events happening around them. Alistair Bunkle's still with me here. Describe the role of the COBRA committee, that ridiculous acronym for what is a committee that does serve a very useful function at times like this. It essentially allows those disparate parts of government, which you wouldn't necessarily think as being particularly joined up, for example, the Home Office and Department of Health, to come together and for it all to be coordinated in one place.
Yeah, COBRA is the rather mundane acronym for the very dramatic, the dramatic acronym for the mundane-sounding Cabinet Office briefing room, and it's briefing room A, hence the name COBRA. But essentially it is put into place at times of national emergency. It's not always chaired by the Prime Minister. It can be chaired by senior or more junior officials. In the case of the Manchester attacks, at times it was chaired by Amber Rudd, the Home Secretary, I believe. It brings together members of government and senior civil servants, members of, and in this case, the members of the police, and anyone really who is directly or in some way involved in the immediate aftermath of a major incident. And it allows the Prime Minister and other senior officials to get a handle on exactly what has gone on. So, for example, tomorrow morning there will be intelligence updates. Who might have been behind this? What more do they know about the attacker or attackers? If those perpetrators are still on the run, any kind of update as to their whereabouts and what the police are doing. Also, in major incidents where hospitals are involved and you have major casualty incidents, the Health Secretary and senior health officials will be there to update on that part of the response. It's an opportunity to look back at what has happened in the hours previously, but of course for the government to formulate its response in the hours to come.
Much of the solid information that we've been receiving here at the Sky News Centre has been coming from the Metropolitan Police. They confirmed that that incident had taken place on London Bridge, that they had been contacted around about 10:10 last night, reports of a vehicle being driven into individuals. They were the ones who confirmed that, yes, there had been reports of stabbings at Borough Market, to which they had responded with armed police. Shots had been fired. No more information from them about that just yet. We should not begrudge the fact that it has been some 20-25 minutes since we have heard from them via their social media platforms. As they say, they will release facts when they can. Their information needs, in their words, to be accurate. They're using all their necessary skills and resources, as they say, at London Bridge and indeed at Borough Market. But we here at Sky News have been speaking to a number of witnesses to events throughout the course of the evening. We spoke to Tony Murphy. He described the gunfires that he heard shortly after that incident took place on London Bridge, he believed.
I'm actually military, and about half an hour ago, preceding all the problem, I have a flat which is adjacent to Southwark Bridge, so London Bridge is across the way, and in fact there was tremendous gunfire which started. I thought at first it was fireworks, but then I recognised it was significant gunfire, and that was the first instance. And only afterwards, very rapidly, because I'm on Upper Thames Street here, then the emergency started about 10 minutes after. But the whole incident started with gunfire, and it was significant gunfire. It went on for quite a few minutes, which other people would have thought it was fireworks, but of course I recognised it immediately. So, I mean, that was the precipitating cause. And after that, the whole shooting match of ambulances and police and what you're seeing on the television screen at the moment, but I was worried about it, and in fact I texted my family to say there was gunfire even before this started.
Tony, so when you heard this gunfire, was it, in your opinion, as former military yourself, was that one weapon firing bursts, or did it appear that it was more than one weapon?
Well, there was rapid fire, because that's why I thought it was fireworks at the time. There was quite significant, it went on for quite a significant amount of time, sufficient for me to get out of the chair and have a look through the window to see if it was fireworks. And it was still going on, so it happened for a while. But that was before there was any police response, which took about 10 minutes, because they all passed my flat along Upper Thames Street, which I saw them, and the helicopter was in fact, the responses were unbelievably fast, including a helicopter.
So, Tony, roughly what time did you first hear that burst of gunfire?
That was, I lose track of time. It would have been about over half an hour ago, 40 minutes ago. It was about, the police came about 10 minutes afterwards, when they were on the scene passing with all the first police to go. Would have been about 10 minutes after I heard the gunfire.
That witness, Tony Murphy, speaking to us from his flat, which is adjacent to Southwark Bridge. He did not have eyes, as it were, on London Bridge itself. And of course, when you hear gunfire, when you see the police responding in numbers to an incident practically on your doorstep, it may very well be the case that your idea of when that happened, the chronology of events, may well get slightly skewed. So it could well be the case that the gunfire that Tony was referring to there was the gunfire